the place, clean the water, treat the water. What was that comment supposed to do? To let us, what was the import of adding that after saying that people refused to leave? So I listened to her. I said, we asked people to leave, we did sensitization, we didn't go. Now, government has to spend millions of money, according to her, millions of money to...
You see, when it comes to organizations, entities, bodies, whatever operations that they undertake, they spend money to acquire maybe all kinds of logistics, machinery, human resource, and everything. But when it comes to communication, they think they can let it just be. Anybody at all can do it. But they forget that people also go to school to study communication. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if government has a communication machinery, if the Ministry of Sanitation has a communication machinery, and there's an issue, the way they will call the technical people to come and resolve issues in their organizations, I expect that when there are issues like this and the minister has been invited to attend a press conference, the minister will meet her team of communicators and decide, looking at what is happening in the system and what is on the ground, with all the cultural nuances, with all the health, everything, then they come up with a package in terms of what to say and what not to say. This is something that people don't do. As soon as something happens, some of the ministers, even when you go also tell, oh, we were Jerry and we are from back. I mean, it happens on air, live. And I'm saying that if things like this happen, once you have paid money to set up a communication unit of your organization, they must be working. They should be helping the leaders to speak. If the leaders are not good speakers, the PROs, the communication officers, they should be speaking, because this has happened too many times. Every time something happens and an official opens the mouth to say anything, it rather, hurts people's feelings and shift the conversation from the real issues. And this is what is happening this morning, rather unfortunately. And this minister, as I said earlier this morning, is a communications person. She's a trained PR officer. Check her biography anywhere. On the internet, go to a place and check. So for her to go and say what she said, like you're asking the question, whether they moved or they didn't move, we are saying that the people are still in need. Number one, they are in need.
That's right.
The monitoring by VRA failed. I mean, if it didn't fail, we wouldn't have this situation, because at the end of the day, they were expecting the controlled spillage to go in a certain way, but it got to a point where they couldn't control because the dam was under pressure, and so they had to open the Akosombo dam, and later maybe the pond dam was also open.
Quite interestingly, they say they're not overwhelmed, and in fact, things are moving according to plan.
They are not overwhelmed because for them, their main objective is the dam.
Right.
You see, so they've saved the dam. But when you save the dam, you've messed up other people's livelihoods. And that is also something that the VRA should be concerned about. But of course, I understand them when they say that they've done what they have to do. Now, this is where the district assembly would have to come in. That's the government. And the NADMUN must have to come in. The ministries have to come in. The presidency have to come in. And so when all things are said and done and we are in this situation, we should be hearing some soothing words and seeing some action that will, minimize the people's pains. It's not for people to go and say things that will make people angry. If you listen to the MP for the area, somebody says, oh, he's a politician, and so that's why he's talking like that. But if I were from the area, I'll speak like that. So I'm saying that if issues happen, and when issues happen, we should know what to say. The president, when they said something, we're in trouble. The whole day, the whole week, we talk about the president.
And in fact, we're still talking about it now.
Yeah. It's still unfortunate.
Making an appearance.
The communication departments should begin to work, because at the end of the day, that's why the Ghana Medical Association has even sent some psychological professionals out there to be able to, speak to the people to bring down their stress. We are hearing that blood pressure cases are going up, BP cases are. Why do you think BP cases are going up? Because people have issues, they are thinking about it. No, people wake up in the morning, instead of alarm clocks waking them up, their struggles are waking them up. They are hitting them like alarm bells in them at dawn. They can't sleep. And if they hear some of these things, you just make them angry. So I'm saying that whatever the minister has said, we are going to stop talking about what he said and still continue talking about the issues and how they will be resolved.
Interestingly, I'm on VRA's website, vra.com, and I was on the website over the weekend, and I'm on the website this morning, and there's a new development. So they've put front and center when you go on the website frequently asked questions about the Akosombo Reservoir spillage. So I do want to recommend the VRA for putting that there because it's very topical. We're all talking about it. We're all asking questions. So they've put some FAQs, frequently asked questions, on there. So, for example, first one is, why is VRA spilling? VRA is spilling because the water level in the reservoir has reached its safe operating level at this time of year. So there is a need to release water from the reservoir to make room to be able to accommodate incoming flows. Without spilling, the water may overtop the dam and compromise its integrity. We've heard that throughout the conversation in the last 2 weeks plus since the spillage began. The next one is, why is it necessary for VRA to spill water instead of using it to generate electricity? And the answer to that, all the above units are currently being used to generate electricity. However, the water that is coming into the reservoir is still higher than the norm, and as such, generation alone cannot take out all the water. The water level may overtop the dam and cause uncontrolled discharge into the downstream communities if timely controlled spillage is not done. They also have some FAQs. When was the last time the dam was spilled? 2010. What time of the year does it normally occur? How long does spilling last? How does VRA know when to start or stop spilling? That's an interesting one here. It says, we know when to stop or start spilling by monitoring the rainfall situation in our catchment area, the flows from our major tributaries, and other global and regional weather updates which impact on inflows into the Akosombo Reservoir. And there are many more FAQs very much in line with the questions that we've all had to cause to ask during this time. So VRA.com has some frequently asked questions on there, and they've attached some answers to it. I think that's a great way at least to go about the conversation. So you can head over to the website and get some answers. But beyond what the VRA says, of course, we're here to interrogate further and expand the conversation. Let's connect now with Engineer Abdulai Mahama. He's a road and building consultant. He's not new to 3FM Sunrise. Let's hear from him this morning. Engineer Abdulai, good morning to you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, perfect. And Engineer Mahama, if you can speak up a little bit louder for us, we'd be most grateful. I think you've already answered. You said you're doing well this morning.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm very fine.
Sure. Now, of course, the issue of the Akosombo and Pong Dam spillage is front and center, and we are approaching the conversation from as many angles as possible. Listening to officials from the VRA over the weekend, I noted that they said they are not overwhelmed with what has happened so far, and that things are going according to plan. Now, from where you sit as an engineer, as a road and building consultant, very much within your domain, do you think things are going according to plan? And do you think it's right for VRA to say that they're not overwhelmed? Do you believe that they're not overwhelmed? Talk to us.
Well, let me say a good morning to all your listeners and viewers. Let me just do a small preamble. Let me just lay a small foundation.
Sure.
The world is receiving an unprecedented precipitation or rainfall. Normally, the weather forecasters every year bring what we call the Lino season forecast. And what they said this year was that we're going to have a certain volume of water that will be visiting the earth. However, they were giving 90-10 percentage, so they will not be exact with their probabilities. So they will just tell you that we are expecting such a volume of water to come, but we don't know exactly whether we can have the one time or it will stay for long. So that's why they dwell on probabilities in all the weather forecasts that they give across the globe. They are not 100% exact. But let me just give some few things due to the climate change that is happening. So what it means is that in some years to come, we may have extreme drought and we can have extreme rainfall. That is the torrential rains that will be unmatched. Now, USA, about the past 3 months, New York has flooded. Germany has a fair share of it. France, after having a share of it, is now visited with a lot of termites. And let me go to the Asian area, for instance. Japan has received quite a volume of water. And the last of it all in the Asia area is that Beijing, in fact, last 2 months, in fact, 30th July, I had to even call some of my friends who are in Germany and Beijing to ask them, my Chinese friends, to ask them whether indeed what I was reading and the videos I was watching was true. Over the 140 years, that's 1883, that was the last time they experienced such a torrential rainfall that brought a lot of flood into China. Now, I'm putting this in context because I want to come down to what is happening in Ghana. We are receiving quite a lot of water in the northern regions of Ghana, which ordinarily we were entering into the drought season by now. So, our meteo and other agencies who are in charge may have to be at their wit end in terms of being very, very accurate to be able to give information to all dams across the country and beyond. So what happened is that, in fact, last year, for instance, we were told that they were expecting a certain volume of water that they were going to spill. If they had done the spillage, the water would have come. They didn't receive that volume of water because they have what we call the dam chart. So the chart is that it shows you the water you are receiving upstream, and then whenever they are below the dam chart, they don't spill. But immediately they are getting closer to the apex of the chart, then it means that they have to be preparing themselves for the spillage. Then we are being told by the same VRA that November last year, they started having a sensitization program with the local indigenous because they had an indication that it's likely they are going to do spillage. In May this year, they did some community engagement. And I'm sure this one has not been disputed by the people who are affected in those areas. Now,
right.
Let's see what came. The volume of water that the North was still experiencing. In fact, last 2 weeks, Wednesday and Thursday, my team had to travel around the Buffet Yapi enclave. And those areas had flooded a week or so before that of the Akosombo Dam started. So, in anticipation of whatever they were supposed to steal, they were doing that in accordance with the chart. The VRA will say that they are successful or everything is under control because of the expected volume of water they are receiving and what they are spilling. In fact, they started spilling 20,000 cubic feet per second. They went to 30,000 cubic feet. Forgive me, those who don't understand. It's like, let's say, 200 drums of polytank per second.
Okay, so 200 drums of polytanks per second. Thank you for situating that in our minds, because I've tried to wrap my mind around the volume. So that's akin, you say, to...
I'll break it down.
Perfect.
I'll break a lot of the things down for you.
Perfect.
So now, what is happening is that I don't want to go into what the minister has said, because if you are relocating the people, I said the people should move to other places. What was the arrangement? So because I'm not a political animal, I don't want to discuss whatever he might have said. I want to deal with the issue as it is.
Sure.
What is the plan? What is the plan of VRA in terms of resettlement, or in terms of when they are having this stimulation exercise? What is the plan that they are supposed to put in to get these people off to higher land? That is something that I'm sure that Parliament is definitely going to invite them after the water has actually receded for that discussion. Let me just put this, that what we are having now is a necessary evil. What we are trying, so I'm talking about we in terms of a Ghanaian, what we are trying to prevent is for the dam not to collapse. And then I want 3FM to put it on record that I have said this thing this morning, that there is the level of resistivity of the dam is more than any building in Ghana. The strength of the dam to be able to withhold the impounded water in the two gorges is stronger 1,000,000 times than any building or any structure.
Hello.
Found on the surface of that. Can stop. Nothing can stop.
Mr. Mahama, we keep losing you. Apologies, we keep. Mr. Mahama, beg your pardon. Yes, you're back. Every now and again, we lose you for about 3 seconds, but you're back on. You say that the dam is a million times stronger than any building or structure that we have in this country.
Is full and water. So let me get you understand this. See a 100-meter track. When they are done with the race, you cannot stop immediately. You move further before you bring its acceleration down. So that's about 20 meters more. It's like you turning the race, the track.
Okay, we appear to be having some challenge with Mr. Mahama. Bear with me.
Just give me 1 second.
Yes, sure. You might have to.
Just give me 1 second. Let me relocate.
Yes.
Let me relocate myself.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Do that so that we can hear you better and more clearly. We're still speaking with Engineer Abdulai Mahama. Yes, much better now. Do take it a few sentences back for us. We kept losing you for a few seconds. Sure.
We are in the village, so in the village we have issues.
Of course. Even in the cities we have issues, but do proceed. Yes, much better. Let's hear from you, please.
All right, I just entered the room to just make it better. I'm saying that I want it to be quoted that there is no structure in this country whose strength of resistivity is more than the Akosombo Dam. Are you there?
We follow.
Okay. So if that dam should collapse, no obstacle, no building can hold it by washing out the whole 9 communities and part of Tema into the sea, deep into the sea. We will wipe out everything along its path into the sea. That is the magnitude of what is happening. So if they are saying that they are successful, first and foremost, whatever they are trying to prevent, should they ignore the spillage and the dam goes to its maximum beyond the operational level, the dam would collapse. And the very thing we are trying to prevent will wash the whole community and more into the sea in a microsecond. That is what all of us should not be ready to experience. Why? We have a record of what just happened on the 11th of September in Libya. Libya had a torrential rain. They were in fact, the report we are getting from Libya after the aftermath of the dam collapse was that the experts are saying that the management were negligent in the warnings that came, and then the dam collapsed. And a fortnight, 22,000 people lost their lives in Libya. That was on 11th of September, 2023. So we cannot get to that stage where the dam would collapse and it will wash the Akosombo bridge, it will wash the Akuse bridge, Sugakope bridge, and that will cut us off Togo, Benin, and Nigeria. I'm by no means excited about whatever is happening. Because as a Ghanaian, everybody has a family in the Volta region. So I'm just trying to put the introduction this way so that maybe you can follow up with your questions that you would want to ask as we do the holistic discussion on the Akosombo Dam.
Mr. Mahama, thank you for that preamble. I think you've explained it quite simply, and as you've put it, the Akosombo Dam is one that you say if it were to overspill or go beyond its capacity would be absolutely disastrous. You started off the preamble talking about climate change and and what that means. So from where you sit, practically armed with this information, so Ghana Met telling us that this year the rains would be more, what would you expect the practical response to that type of information to be? Would it then require that there would be spillages ahead of the designated time? Would it require that it would be spread out? Paint a picture for us. Cloaked with that information, what would you expect to be the response from the VRA as far as spillages are concerned?
One of the things I know the VRA doesn't actually check on their responsibility is that there is a monitoring team that do daily monitoring on the levels of the dam on Monday to Sunday. There's no day left, which is a holiday or a Saturday or a Sunday, because of what they know may happen should there be any slight oversight. So what I'm saying is that even when the Meteorological Survey Department or metro agencies give out the expected rainfall, they still deal with probabilities. But the VRA has what we call the dam chart, which they follow to look at what intake they are receiving as against either is going beyond the danger or they are approaching the danger. Then they will know exactly what to do in terms of the spillage. You see, I use the word that they are torn between a chicken and egg situation where, like last year, when they had the information of a high level of precipitation, if they had done the spillage in anticipating that they will now be expecting a volume of water to come in and actually fill the space for the controlled spillage, they would have been shocked because the rains didn't come. And that means that a lot of the turbines which are tending to give us power would be cut off. And when they cut off the power, what it means is that we will now rely on the coal or the turbine, the thermal, the Aboise and those other ones which are using other source of fuel to give us power to operate the system. And that means that possibly, let me give you an example. If you are paying 1 cedi now for, if you are paying 1 cedi for a unit of energy or power that you are getting at home, you are paying 3 cedi because they will now look at the expensive. Meanwhile, the form of energy from the hydro is the least expensive one across the globe in terms of water. But if you are using the coal or the crude, the price goes high because of the market prices of this other fuel that we don't have control over. And so when they look at the chart, they use that predictability, and then they have in-house training as to how they will go about the spillage. That is left with them. But having had this devastation, because they know that with the information they were given, the probability they were given, they expected the volume of water to have actually to reduce drastically in the northern regions of Ghana. But I said something in my preamble that because of the pattern of the ozone, the global warming or the depletion of the ozone layer, the certainty of expectation of the floodwaters or the drought is not exactitude now. They are not so sure of the precision that comes from across the globe in terms of the volume of water. So they are playing with probabilities. And then once they got to know that they are getting to their peak, that's why I'm saying that they started their stimulation exercises intense in May.
Right.
But I'm sure that they would have to come and answer some few questions that I cannot answer for them when they get to Parliament for maybe a sitting after the water final receipts. But I'm just giving a few other information to your viewers and listeners. The dam, the surface of the dam is about 3.5% the surface of Ghana. The total surface area of the dam. I want to just picture the magnitude of the dam.
Right.
Now the dam is like traveling from Accra to Kumasi and back. That's the length of the dam. And the water that we found ourselves to have, in fact, the dam there is the largest man-made lake in the world. We are all aware of that. But the water in the dam, should we say that everybody in Ghana and across the world is going to be given 2 bottles of water to drink a day? That water that we are imagining there can feed the whole world 40 years and above. If
the water in the dam.
If everybody should be given 2 bottles of water, the 500 ml, 2 of that every day in the world, it will give us, it will quench our thirst for over 40 years. I'm not saying Ghana, almost the approximate 7 billion population that we have in the world. So just imagine 7 billion population are drinking 2 bottles of water daily for the next 40 years and above. That is the magnitude of the water that is actually impounded in the Akosombo enclave.
Now, you made mention of the simulation exercise that happened in May. What is the purpose of an exercise like that? And what would the VRA be seeking to do post the simulation? Will they be seeking to, because we're told this time round that we had external partners come and join in that simulation exercise from the United States. What's the purpose of a simulation, and what are the results after that?
Yeah, so the stimulation is just to sensitize and to create awareness of what the people should be expecting should there be a spillage, and to just be cautious, or to just give them, like I said, more awareness of what expectations they should be expecting to come from the spillage, how they would have to manage the situation to be able to stay alive. Let me put it that way, so that when the waters come, they will not be caught unawares. But I'm just certain that the expectation of the volume of water that they use in their stimulation may not be may not be the levels that they're actually spilling now. But they would have definitely gone through, like you said, rightly augmented my statement by the foreigners who came in to help in the stimulation, is to keep the people abreast and aware, or to be okay, or to just know what they will do. I'm not sure whether they actually brought in the canoes and then the boats, because at that time the water was not there. I don't know how they did those aspects of the stimulation, and I'm saying that I'm not too sure that they ever expected that they were going to receive the volume of water that they are receiving and the level of spillage they are doing. But for them to say that they are under control means that whatever they are supposed to do to spill the water, they are doing that. And from last 2-3 weeks, they decided to blast the turbines at full capacity so that they can generate more power to use than to be using the thermal to operate, so that the water may go down much faster because of the expected water they are getting in the lake. I said again on one of the sister stations about a week ago that whatever we are experiencing at the Volta Enclave or the Volta Lake area, I will not be surprised that we will receive the same problems at the Wager. And I'm surprised that I'm not surprised that when your producer called me, he made mention of the fact that something of that sort is being already discussed in studios.
That's right.
Because I preempted over a week ago that whatever is happening on the Akosombo Dam is likely to happen here, because I am actually working in the eastern regions of Ghana,
right,
where I have seen that the same tributaries that is supposed to feed the Wager, i.e. the Densusu River, the Kuya River, the Akwadum River that comes to the Densu in Nsawam, is the same water which is actually feeding the Wager. And already the water is at its brim, where we have had flooding in Nsawam and its environs going beyond the road to the communities. And something that has never happened over the past 50 years is happening in these areas, and those waters find their last destination at the Wager Lake. And so I will not be surprised that in the coming days, if the rains keep on, in fact, for the past 4 days, right from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the level of precipitation of rainfall that we have received in the eastern region, which is a direct contributor to the Wager, is unmatched.
Sorry to slight tackle you there, Engineer Mahama, because that was going to be our next topic for discussion, the Wager Dam. But now that you've introduced it, we can carry on with that. I was only going to ask a few more, one or two more on the Akosombo Dam, and then speak about the Wager Dam. But now that we're here, let's talk about it. So you say that we could potentially be seeing what we're already seeing in the communities affected by the Akosombo Dam spillage replicated if care is not taken on how the spillage is done as far as the Wager Dam is concerned, because of the high levels of rain that we're experiencing at this time. So let's talk about picking lessons from the Akosombo Dam spillage. What should be done to prevent this level of devastation if the Wager Dam is to be spilled? Yes,
For the Wager, we are all aware. In fact, if somebody tells me that he's not aware that the Wager management have been sounding this alarm bell or these warning bells almost for the past few years, almost every year we hear the alarm bells being rung. they have stated several times that the level of encroachment on the Wager Dam or the immediate surrounding or the riverbed area, in fact, the surrounding of the riverbed in its higher peak. When is the word higher peak? However, the way local indigenes are encroaching on the banks of the river is astronomical. It's just beyond imagination. I don't know why, and we still see buildings springing up like mushrooms in these locations when they are very much aware that every year, like last year, it was huge. If you remember last year, what happened
That's
around
right.
the Comoros area.
That's
when
right.
they had to spill. So out of 12 months, you would have rainfall already disturbing your community for, like, let's say 3 months out of the 12 months. And then when the spillage comes, it takes another 3 months or so. You are left with about 6 months. So I don't want to believe that people pretend not to know what is, especially with the Wager. The Akosombo Dam is a different ball game altogether because
That's
of the
right.
magnitude of the dam. But the Wager is nowhere near the Akosombo Dam. But we are, in fact, the Wager Dam receives this spillage or hardship to the people every now and then. And so when I see people still putting up buildings in 2022, 2023 at the Wager enclave or the banks of the river, it is sheer stubbornness. One of them is that the local assemblies have been taxed. In fact, I have been on record to, if you check my Twitter handle, almost yearly. I do that like almost every 3 months, just conscientizing the assemblies that they have some power. In the Land Use and Special Planning Act of 2016 at 925, the assemblies are mandated by law to carry. In fact, the first one is that at 113 says that anybody who wants to put up any physical development would have to notify the assembly of his intent. Then you submit your drawings to the assembly. The physical planning authority will now come in and look at the location of your land, whether it doesn't fall within any of these identified areas for either a buffer area or a swampy area, a reservoir. Then they will now certify that you move to the next stage and you go. If you don't do that, the same law, which is the 925, mandate the assembly, and at 121, it says that, I'm just paraphrasing, it said the officer, in this case the assembly, may without notice carry out an instant prohibition
3FM 92.
Alteration is considered to interfere with the environment or
3FM
nuisance to the
92.
environment. So the assembly is given the power that should anybody not go through the process of acquiring the permits, they can either come in and halt them or carry out instant prohibition, prohibit you from continuing the structure, or carry out instant demolition. And this power was actually enshrined in our act in 2006. This case coming to the location and treating the people with a kid's glove. Meanwhile, the extent of devastation, or let's say 2, 3, 4 houses, have actually truncated or stopped the natural direction of a river, to the detriment of the other people who have no business or they have no any reason to experience that challenge. And 3, 4, 5 houses or warehouses to carry out instant demolition. They are not supposed to go to court. They are not. They have been given the power that should they meet all the criteria, the assembly is given that power to carry out alteration, abatement, or demolition. So government may, in the coming years, more resources because in fact what we always hear is that the assemblies are under resourced. They don't even have vehicles to go and do their monitoring. So if we think that we have special areas like these are security areas. Yes. The Akosombo Dam is a security area.
Right.
The Wager Dam is a security because without it, half of Accra will not get water. So if we have to police through and get everything done on the path of the spillage channel, because whenever the Wager spills, it should have a channel. In fact, I assume that when we are spilling the dam, this is where the water would pass. So make sure that nobody is actually putting a site in a building in that area. I don't know for a fact whether when the dam was constructed, all those people who were actually in the natural place were compensated. I'm sure this data can be found with the management of the Wager Dam.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Engineer Mahama. That's a part of the conversation that we can't ignore. Very important indeed, and something that we're looking to explore further with the likes of yourself. But thank you again for that preamble when we got into the discussions of the Akosombo Dam and setting out some of the themes for us clearly. My last question, though, before I bid you farewell, back on the Akosombo Dam spillage and the VRA, do you believe that the VRA has some questions that they need to answer from where you sit? You talk about the water levels that may have taken them by surprise. Do you believe that due process has been followed just from your observation, or do you think that we need to probe further to find out if everything was done according to plan, given foreseeability that they foresaw what happened now? Do you think that things have gone according to plan as they should?
Okay, I'll give you two things. Your question is one, but I will not forget the last one I want to make as a possible solution moving forward.
Perfect.
You see, people as at now have been displaced, and so when you are speaking to them, you have to be very circumspect with what you say. You have to be very candid as well. But you should make sure that you don't incite emotions of people who are actually displaced, because all of a sudden somebody goes to work and on his return to the house, he found out that the investment that he has had in his room for like 10 years and over is just off. So like no wonder the medical officers who are there are giving us indication of people's BP rising here and there. In fact, all of us have families there. So we understand what is coming out of our pocket individually to also go in and support relatives who are there. But whatever emotions are, when finally we are being told that the runoff or the rains in that side of the country have actually
FM 92.
Reduced drastically. The water is not rising as we recorded some days ago. So maybe if they are doing some minimum spillage, there is a one that is supposed to be just to get us to the operational limit, and then we are good to go. The dam on its own breathes. So the water is not 200% tight. The water has to get some small sweep holes so that the dam can breathe on its own, because the forces cannot be measured, and you can't actually hold water forever. What I expect, so that we can be able to understand the VRA, is that when the water actually requested to come and give accounts of all the spirit, where I'm sitting, I don't speak for government and I don't speak against government. I speak to the part of engineering, like you know. So
absolutely.
What we will do as engineers or advocates is that when they finally are presenting an account, we will be very end. And in fact, for me, I have some of my classmates there, so I'm already ahead of some of the things that is being discussed, because I started before the dam actually got to the spillage point. I was in
3FM 92.
the northern region to my team, getting information about the spillage started. Some part of the
3FM 92.7.
the northern regions have already started fire, especially. Let me give two things. The Akosombo Dam, when
Mr. Mahama?
the turbines.
Okay. Sorry, we you keep cutting out a little bit, so I'll let you round up for us. Yes, yes, you kept cutting out a little bit there, but round up for us, please. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so so when the turbines tend to generate the power, the leftover, which is the tailings, is what goes to the pond dam to generate another 160 megawatts of power. The height of pond Akosombo to the sea is just 3 meters by 70 meters long, so it's fairly flat. What we can do as a country is that once we are beginning to know that we are going to receive such irregular pattern of weather, whether we can have extreme rainfall or extreme drought, along the territory, the tributaries of the Volta, we may have to create new irrigation dams so that instead of spilling the water out, the design will be such that we can rather absorb water into the empty dams along the tributaries before they get to Akosombo, so that we'll be expecting less water in the Akosombo Dam. And then the Pualugu Dam may have to be revisited and expanded so that a lot of water upstream can be harnessed for irrigation purposes, so that we will not get all the water coming to Accra and spill to demolish or displace people in their homes in the Volta regions of Ghana. Thank you for this discussion this morning.
Thank you so much. Engineer Abdulai Mahama, road and building consultant, speaking with us this morning on the issues concerning the Akosombo Dam spillage, and also weighing in on the Weija dam and what sort of damage we could be seeing in the event of a spilling of the Weija dam. Engineer Mahama, will be connecting with you as the days progress. You've been doing a lot of work in this regard, and we'd love to hear more of your thoughts and findings as far as this particular issue is concerned. Also, let's all follow Engineer Mahama on the socials. He's on X at Mahama_Abdulai. He says, for everybody who wants to follow on his engineering prophecies, do follow on X. Engineer Mahama, thank you again for your time this morning. Very grateful.
3FM Sunrise.